Topping today's news, more discussions regarding increased minimum wage for the public servants, the U.S. government commenting on the growing China relations, and a Carnival cruise ship catches fire. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jareno Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. Thanks for joining us. Following Wednesday's widely anticipated budget presentation, Economic Affairs Minister Senator Michael Halkitis gave a breakdown of a few key areas impacted by the Davis administration's new budget. Speaking to the media at this week's press briefing at the Office of the Prime Minister, Senator Halkitis addressed the possibility of the newly announced minimum wage increase trickle over to the private sector.
It is the intention for it to go into the private sector as well. As you know, there is what is called a tripartite council, which is a collaboration between the government, the labor segment, which is represented by the labor unions, and as well the employment, the employers who are represented by the Bahamas Employment Confederation. And so what they do is they collaborate and they get together, and then they make suggestions to the government on what the quantum should be and what the timing should be. And I understand that they are very close to making that presentation to the government. So yes, that's a long way to say yes. It is the intention. Of course, the government can control what it does in the public sector, and through its collaboration in the tripartite council as well. So we expect that to follow shortly after, ideally perhaps even at the same time.
The Economic Affairs Minister notes that while the government is limited in its control over the private sector, the current rate of the pay is not sustainable given the current cost of living in the country.
There will always be an element that says, the timing. You just enunciated several things, coming out of the COVID, inflation, whatever. The fact of the matter is, for some people, there will never be the right time to do it. But again, the other fact of the matter is, the cost of living is going up, and we need to bring that relief. And so we hear that, but the fact of the matter is, if it wasn't COVID, unfortunately, some people would always find a reason not to do it.
He adds that if the government doesn't see to it that the rate is increased, there will always be those in positions of power that find reasons to avoid it. As it stands, the minimum wage in the country is $210 per week for a 40-hour work week. While we do not yet know what the exact new wages will officially be, Halkitis says unofficially that they are considering about $250 per week. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Philip Davis says he is unapologetic in making the 2022-2023 budget Family Island-centric. His comments came hours after he presented his first national budget in the House of Assembly on Wednesday morning. Again, speaking at the official opening of the Local Government Leadership Workshop on Wednesday afternoon, Prime Minister Davis reiterated some of the priority areas of focus, which is inclusive of the Family Islands and his administration's mandate to incorporate 30% renewable energy production into the national grid by 2030.
We must do our part to arrest rising sea levels around our islands. These policy measures are significant for local government practitioners and family island administrators because much of our natural resources in the blue and green economies exist in and around family islands. My government is moving quickly and decisively in these areas. For example, this weekend, a team of government officials and a representative from the IDB Bank will conduct technical assessments for the installation of solar photovoltaic systems for public buildings on rooftops or ground mounters in Inagua, Acklins, Crooked Island, Maiguana, and Long Key.
As the keynote speaker of the Local Government Leadership Workshop, Prime Minister Davis revealed the technical assets in Family Island communities will continue to allow Family Island practitioners to be fully engaged in the government's energy reform initiative. He said he welcomes the opportunities for entrepreneurship and well-paying wages the initiative will create on the Family Island, with local government practitioners contributing directly to the energy transformation.
Your challenge, however, as local government practitioners, is to embrace these 21st century changes, but to do so in a manner that you improve your various communities by placing the well-being of our citizenry first and delivering the highest standards of service. This is your sworn mission and commitment as you bring government closer to the people. Please know that we are partners in the sustained development of our Family Island communities and economies. The unique culture and sensibilities of our people must be respected, protected, and preserved as we fight what is called the rural push and the urban pull economic migration phenomena.
Prime Minister Davis says his administration will facilitate and ensure there is effective and sustainable forms of government at the community level that encourages the overall development of the Bahamas. He thanked the local government officials for their resourcefulness and patience in facilitating government policies under challenging circumstances. Following the Prime Minister's tabling of the national budget on Wednesday, Minister of Social Services and Urban Development, Obi Wilshcombe, expressed his excitement as the new budget paves the way for an increase in the social assistance budget. This is something they have fought very hard for, according to the minister, as so many are in need of assistance with the rising cost of living and just after a major hurricane and now a global pandemic.
We've advocated for it. But the Prime Minister made it very clear several weeks ago that he was going to respond to inflation, the rising costs and the needs of our people, and to provide the provisions. We're very elated. There's so much more we could do. We know the hurt of the people, and we've seen the number of Bahamians who have had difficult times, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's Dorian, whether it's the circumstances of jobs. The truth is many Bahamians have had difficulties. So across the board, to provide the 10% increase is very significant, and we're very excited about it.
As the demands for assistance is growing fast, the government is reintroducing programs such as RISE, a program that will better assist Bahamians in need, but will also make room for them to become more self-reliant.
What we're doing now is we're going to bring the RISE program. It will also include the Promise program, but it's intended to cause for the dignity to return, where Bahamians don't have to stand on long lines and won't have to be as if they're begging for some assistance. We're opposed to that, and that's going to stop. But more importantly, it's also an effort to move our people away from being dependent to be independent. And now we can effectively monitor their contribution to improvement, their contribution to bettering their lives, and we can help them along the way. A part of what we're going to do as well is we're going to have a transition phase in the program, which means that you might enter the program unemployed, but within a 3-4 month period, we're seeking to have employment for you, and then we'll allow for you to be assisted by social service until we're able to allow you to move on because you've been able to get your job opportunity and sustain yourself.
As the government seeks to increase the budget of the Ministry of Social Services up to 50%, Minister Wilshcombe responded to the opposition leader, Michael Pintard, who was critical of the government, suggesting that the budget lacked support and assistance for Family Islanders and the poor. Mr. Wilshcombe says the Free National Movement has no right to speak to that, as it was their government that left a poor management structure.
The opposition should not be saying that because it means that they left it in place. They left a poor management structure. A new regime is required. That is true because a lot of individuals are paid now through local government. And that's because no banks. That's because we've not put in place a system that allows for a flow and allows for people to receive their payments on time. So yes, we have to fix that, and we are fixing it. See, we're not trying to avoid the issues, we're going toward the issues. In fact, this morning I had a meeting about the new paradigm, about ensuring that people can receive their payments by the end of the month or the times that they should have them. The reality about it all is we have neglected our Family Islands. The Honorable Philip Brave Davis is now embracing the Family Islands. He's now returning the PLP to its original philosophy. and to its paradigm that was established in 1953. It's a philosophy of the Progressive Liberal Party. You don't leave any Bahamian out.
The Social Services Minister says as the opposition seeks to criticize the PLP is embracing the challenges in the Family Islands and will address all concerns. United States Assistant Secretary of Western Hemisphere Affairs Brian Nichols met with Prime Minister Philip Davis on what he calls a productive meeting. Mr. Nichols was in country on his first official visit to the Bahamas since the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking with reporters at the Lynden Pindling International Airport, he shared that he and the Prime Minister spoke on a wide range of issues, including the upcoming Summit of the Americas, and says he is looking forward to the Prime Minister's participation.
Among the topics that we will cover during the Summit of the Americas will be strengthening democracies, fighting climate change, improving access to health care, education, strengthening the digital economy, ensuring that people all over our hemisphere have access to broadband internet, and of course enjoying the wonderful culture and dynamic economy of Southern California.
When asked about the concerns shown by the United States towards the Bahamas' growing relationship with the People's Republic of China, Mr. Nichols says the United States policy is not to ask countries to choose between the United States and China, but to consider the benefits and drawbacks when engaging with its trade partners.
PRC is an important commercial partner for many countries in our hemisphere, including the United States. But we also have to have our eyes open about, in particular, when they're offering up perhaps discount products or technologies that do not safeguard people's personal data. And I'm confident that the Bahamas, as a democratic country, understands those risks. And when we have concerns, we can address them in a friendly manner, a respectful manner, but this is something that we do with all countries, and the Bahamas is a close ally, is a nation that we have great confidence.
Noting that next year marks the 50th year of the Bahamas-United States relations, Mr. Nichols said the Bahamas is a trusted and valued partner for the United States on issues such as international security, migration, and human rights, as well as a leader in the region in terms of democracy and the fight against climate change, green environmental policies as well. And finally, in this segment, on the health front, the rise in hospitalization in the country, it's not linked to the spike in COVID cases. This according to the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville. In a recent press release, the minister spoke to the uptick in cases, noting that the Disease Surveillance Unit has turned specific focus onto the schools as cases continue to rise. This much coming after the outbreak of the COVID infections in several schools across the nation, including Stephen Dillard, that's the primary school there, C.H. Reeves Junior High, and others. Dr. Dowell says the Ministry of Health is working closely with the Ministry of Education on ways to mitigate the potential spread in schools. He explained the increase in hospital cases was not directly related to COVID-19, but instead was associated with complications from chronic non-communicable diseases like diabetes, heart problems, and high blood pressure. The minister also contends that the hospital officials are working enthusiastically to address the bed spaces needed to accommodate the surplus in admissions. We'll take a break here, and we'll be right back after these commercials.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Silhouette Boutique Collection.